Right, having a look at one of the big stories of this week and the knock-on effects of it. The news that the KHDA was giving the green light to schools to raise fees by up to 5.2%, depending on where they come on the inspection scale. We started wondering whether or not the whole schools allowances thing was still a thing, particularly for new hires. So we have one recruitment expert in the studio to help us find out. Conor McHugh is the founder of Alchemy Search. Morning, Conor.
Morning, Brandy.
How common at the moment is getting schooling as part of a package?
I think it really depends on where you're positioned in the market. So if we break it down in Dubai, I don't think it's as common maybe as previously. And also it would depend quite a lot on what level you are. So if you're coming in at a sort of a junior or a mid-level, I think it's not as common. But I do think for some, very senior hires, they are trying to keep it in there.
Okay, why do you think it's changing?
I think it is cost cutting, if I'm honest, from the top. The reasons why is probably around, if you're running a business and you've got someone who's maybe has 3 kids, let's just say you're giving them an allowance of 60,000 dirhams per child. That's 5,000 dirhams a month, 15,000 dirhams a month when you add in the 3 children. So if someone's on a salary of 50,000, that's actually now costing you 65,000. So I think companies are trying to push away from someone who doesn't have kids, who's on the same salary. It's going to be, the reality is it's going to be cheaper on their bottom line.
So what are they doing instead?
What they're doing is what we're seeing in the market. In Dubai, it is more of an all-in package. So companies will sort of say, let's just give across the board a slight increment, maybe bring their packages up by 2,000 to 5,000 dirhams a month, but just get rid of the schooling allowance. In Abu Dhabi, I do think they still have more of a schooling allowance. With the government companies, the sovereign wealth funds, at the end of the day, their purse strings are bigger than the companies in Dubai. So they still are trying to get the big senior talent with the schooling allowances.
Is there a sense of competition coming in here, of it being used as an attraction tool at some levels?
Definitely. We've seen it as more of a retention tool. So in particular in the consultancy space, a lot of the big 4 companies or a lot of the advisory firms that have come into the region, one of the big 4 in particular added in schooling last year, which they hadn't done before, as a retention tactic. So for sort of senior manager or manager level and above, schooling was added in the hope to keep some people. Maybe when they resigned, maybe one of the big things they had on the other side of the table was a schooling offer. So yeah, it's retention and attraction. What
about across the Gulf? I mean, Saudi is picking up an awful lot of talent from everywhere. What are they doing?
So, yeah, look, at the end of the day, I think we all know Saudi, they have the cash. What I seen personally, probably 2 or 3 years ago, as a business, we focus on senior sort of finance mid-level, where if you had a CFO who lost their job in Dubai, if they had 2 or 3 kids, it's incredibly hard for them to secure a job quickly. And it is a race against time because the contract market doesn't really exist here. So the option was either Abu Dhabi or Saudi. So what we actually seen was a lot of the giga projects were hiring, expats from Dubai and offering them schooling for their children in Dubai. So the mother or father would go to Saudi, I guess Sunday to Thursday, maybe fly back in for the weekends, but their children and the parent that's staying with the kids could actually get the schooling from UAE, even though being employed by a KSA company.
We've got an awful lot of new expats coming into the UAE. What kind of conversations are they having? Are they asking for schooling?
It's interesting. So what we're seeing is, again, for finance and tax, is that it's a lot more mid-level professionals. So your young professionals, maybe aged between 25 to 35, they're actually more interested in remote working as opposed to, the benefits maybe they're used to in Europe. Obviously not that common here. That's usually the first question we get. So the schooling thing doesn't really come up too much. I think it's more for people who've maybe been here 10, 15 years and are looking for a move, because the big challenge we see is with these people, they just see the package and then they just assume schooling is within this other offer. So we've had situations before where you get to near offer stage with a candidate and then they just realise there is no schooling on offer and they stay where they are.
I was going to say, is it a deal breaker
Yeah.
if a company can't give it, won't give it?
I think for senior people, if they have 2 to 3 kids, it's definitely a deal breaker, unless they're going to get a big offer, which unfortunately isn't as common in Dubai. Because it is so competitive, there's so many more candidates than jobs here. While in Abu Dhabi and Saudi, it is candidate short, where companies have to, make big offers to get the best talent.
What does it mean for those who might be being recruited from overseas, who are doing their sums in general, looking at the cost of rents, looking at the cost of schooling? Does it impact what they're asking for overall? Is it enough to put someone off a move to the Gulf?
Yeah, I think the big thing, any job seeker looking to come into the region, when you're dealing with the recruiter or the company you're speaking with, just fully understand the package. Because sometimes, you have the breakdown of basic housing and transport, for example. People are like, what does this mean? Obviously, you're getting the one number at the bottom, but it affects your gratuity. So it's really for the candidates, the job seeker, to fully understand what is on offer outside of, your basic housing and transport.
Is things like the housing and the schooling, though, really a benefit? Or is it just, this is your salary and we've cut the pizza up a slightly different way?
In my opinion, yes. At the end of the day, you get your bottom line number. It's how it's broken up is obviously for the basic, whatever percentage that is, the higher the better for you as the employee. But the average probably is usually between 50 and 60%. But it just affects your gratuity, so your end of your service when you do move on.
Does school fees affect on the other side for hiring? Rich was been joking about the fact that, he's more expensive than I am. It's what age of candidates you're asked to look for?
Yeah, no, I think the way this market is that Dubai is very much you're north of 55 or 50. Saudi's probably your best option. Abu Dhabi to an extent also, because the mindset there is that they'll get the senior talent that will effectively die on their sword or fall on their sword, for a better word, and upskill the local talent and then move on, obviously with a nice package. While in Dubai, that doesn't happen as much from what I can see.
Interesting thoughts there. Conor McHugh, founder of Alchemy Sort, speaking to us this morning after the KHDA gave the green light for some school fee rises. We were curious as to whether or not school allowances was still a thing. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Dubai Eye 103.8 traffic.
With Yas Island Abu Dhabi. Stay at iconic